I'm Carsten Bange, founder and CEO of BARC.
Hi, I'm Alex Borek from Executing Digital, an independent advisor for data analytics and AI strategy.
And together we have the pleasure to present the second day keynote at this year's Data Festival Online. And our topic will be data products. And we would like to talk about the success factors for development, operationalization, scaling, and monetization of data products. Alex, let's dive right in.
Great, and we all know that data products is the hot topic of this year. So what we want to do is share some experiences with you. Let's begin.
Yeah, actually, we see it's a hot topic, and it's a paradigm shift. I think this is the important basic notion we all need to understand here. So it's really about thinking a product and not a project. So first of all, maybe to define what is a data product. We think it's a pretty broad definition in terms of that anything that we do to enrich data with analytics and machine learning, and we deliver higher value information, that this can be a data product. For example, this could be a simple report where we inform people, but maybe enrich data that we sell to an external party or provide internally. But it can also be an algorithm or a prediction model or a full application that we developed to provide information to a customer. This could be, let's say, data analysis capabilities. This could be a statistical model, a machine learning model, whatever. So a data product uses data to provide enriched, higher value information. And we use this to inform people, but we can also use it to automate processes. If we think of decision automation or using ML models in operational processes, for example, and so on. So this is what we are talking about. And the shift here and the change to a project is really that we have clear users and problems. So we are addressing a pretty clear problem with one of our data products. We think it's super important to think in modules, because we all know, this is the lessons learned from data science, that actually most of our projects will fail here. So if we start to prototype and maybe do a pilot application, at least 50% of these will typically fail, will not make it into production. And with this as a fact, it's super important to modularize your development so that you say, okay, this didn't work out in the way we expected, but we learned a lot and we can reuse modules that we have used here and build the next data product, which eventually will be more successful. Another really important thing about a product is that we have responsibility. So of one name assigned to a product, and this is responsibilities end to end, meaning from design of the product to operationalization, there's one person taking care of that. And this is one of the major differences to projects. We typically are handed over to someone when the project is done. And this is one of the points of failure we typically see here. A product needs a roadmap, so everyone is informed. It needs marketing, very important. We don't expect that any data product will be used or sell itself in a way, but we need to market it. So we really have to think like a product if we think about data products.
And maybe the last aspect that I think that is important, it doesn't matter how you provide the product. You provide the product as it's needed by your customers or your users. It could be through an API, it could be through a user front end, it could be through a traditional BI system. You pick the right medium to basically provide that product to your customer.
Right. So let's think about how we manage that.
Now, I guess one of the key things that we probably got wrong in data science in the last years is that it felt a bit that we were all over the place with our data science projects. We tried to cover all parts of our value chain here and there, trying a lot of things out. But what was missing was a cohesive product strategy. Where should we actually put our resources on? Because we have scarce resources. Every company has a limited amount of resources. And being all over the place doesn't help. You have to find the 3, 4, 5, 6 areas where it really makes a difference, where it's really a competitive advantage for your individual business to invest into machine learning, into data. That could be, for example, for a production company to really focus on production processes and Industry 4.0. and maybe connecting your products with smart data. It could be for pharmaceutical to really invest in data science that advances your research efforts into your new products, because that's your competitive edge. And for a bank, it could be about managing risk and better serving your customers. So it really depends on your industry where your focus point should be. And this should be tightly connected to your overall corporate strategy.
Right. I think this
means that after you have set up this kind of product strategy and product portfolio strategy, avoid doing things that are, for example, doing a small data science project here and there for HR, for finance, for maybe other parts of the business, which you don't consider being core to your strategy, business strategy, and where you maybe have other partners which can bring off-the-shelf solutions or already things that worked out in the industry for a lot of times. Having discipline is so important when it comes to product strategy and your product portfolio.
Yeah, and this linking to the business strategy is also answering the two very often heard questions we get. This is, where should we start and how can we prioritize? And this is really the link, linking it to the business strategy, and this answers also these questions. So once we have an idea how we manage our product portfolio, our data product portfolio, it's really important to evaluate all the ideas. We see here that many companies are now in a phase that they are not lacking enough ideas, but they actually have too many. So we see long lists of use cases and ideas, what we could actually produce as a data product. And now it's the really important task to find those products that are, in the end, the most beneficial, but also have the right ratio of benefits to effort and cost and maybe risk. And this is the goal and the aim of the evaluation phase. And what we have came up here with, and this is also based on our work as a market analyst working with many companies in this field in identifying prioritizing use cases, but also Alex's experience, for example, in VW, that you can come up with this canvas here. And it has several dimensions how to evaluate the product ideas. And maybe, Alex, you drive a little bit into these 5 angles that we put up here.
So we actually used exactly that product business canvas at Volkswagen Financial Services. And what it does is, in its heart, it's the product outline. If I cannot describe what the product does, then it's not really a product. So I need to be able to say which data comes in, what do I do with this data, and how do people use that data after all. And that's the product outline. If I can't describe it, I have to do more homework before I can start working on this data product. Second, and maybe most important thing, is the viability. Viability means, does it really make sense from a business perspective? Is there not only a return on invest, but does it really fit into my product strategy, which drives the business strategy? So this is really the business angle. Is there a business sponsor? Does it make sense in terms of business and product strategy? The other aspect, though, is the desirability. And desirability is from a user perspective. I can have the best business case in the world. If the users are not using it every day, it's basically in vain. I can put a product in front of users, nobody will use it, there will be no business outcome. So desirability looks really at your users, and will they actually use it? What does it take for them to use it? And then the fourth aspect is actually feasibility. And feasibility is actually quite complex when it comes to data products, because it's about the feasibility of your machine learning algorithms or your analytics that you want to do, and the data pre-processing. Is the data fit for use in terms of data quality for this? Is there likely to be an outcome? Is there enough data there? But it's also in terms of software feasibility. Can I build that connection to the old mainframe? Is that possible? Or do I need to use maybe a robot or an export function as CSV to drive this? How can I build it, basically? Is it possible to build it? And the last, and maybe the most important and most neglected thing here is the compliance angle. And this does not only cover legal and compliance rules in your company, but also the topic of ethics. I don't think we should start working even on a prototype of a of a data product if we believe this is unethical and it doesn't fit to our values as a corporate. So this is really important. And of course, needless to say that we shouldn't try out a product which goes against law. If we cross that boundary, that wouldn't be good even in a prototype state. And this is something sometimes done too late. And I think this should be done in a very early phase of product design.
Absolutely. We also covered this aspect yesterday in our panel discussion on data ethics. If you didn't have the chance to join it, you can see it on demand. And I can only agree, there's the law, but then a second aspect is what we actually should do. And sometimes it's not the same, but it's an important question to ask in the compliance part. When we evaluated products, the next step would actually be to validate them. And this is also a very important aspect, to be very quick here. So we need a fast validation. We cannot spend month and month in, let's say, refining and redefining a product to the last bit. But it's really important to be fast here, also to be a little bit bold. To bring a product to market that's actually an MVP, meaning a minimal viable product. So it doesn't have to be perfect, and everyone has to understand that and also accept it. But it's more important to have a go live quickly here than to have a perfect product. And only once it's went live, it's possible to actually see whether it's really working in the technical environment that we need and where we put it into, but also the business environment. So are the business processes really ready to implement this data product? Are the responsible people really ready to act differently based, for example, on recommendations of a machine learning model? And this is really important to test whether this is really the case. And people are not saying upfront, yes, we will do it, this will work. But in the end, once they are confronted with the actual results, with the actual need to change, then we see that some people are a little bit shy and are not doing it. So go live, and then we can start with a cycle in improving and scaling the product, meaning we need continuously to improve it because we started with a minimum viable product. And this is then also the opportunity to scale it. So typically we start with maybe one process, one region or so, and then we start to roll it out and scale it.
I think a key thing here to highlight is the validation. In the past, we used in data science often focus on very sexy prototypes here. And I think that's not the point of validation. Validation is really, can I do it in terms of data? Can I do it in terms of the machine learning? Would the user really accept it? Maybe doing some mockups and just showing it to users. The easiest way possible to just validate, doesn't make sense to further invest my time into this product. Because developing an MVP, even if it's really a minimal viable product, takes time, takes effort, because it's really about producing working software.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the roles and the organizational aspects.
And I guess here, it's quite clear that when you want to shift into the new paradigm, you also need to shift the ways of working here. And that includes a number of aspects. And the first aspect is around data product management. There's this new role of data product manager, which basically replaces the business analyst or the product manager in data. And basically is a similar skill, but what it means is that you really have that end-to-end responsibility from the initial product idea, or even for the part of the product strategy for your domain, until the actually execution and implementation of the data product, and even after go live and improving the data product and scaling it. So it's really an end-to-end responsibility in terms of the role of a data product manager and the related processes. And it also means that you own that product or that product area end to end. And there is a clear mission behind that ownership. For example, improving the cycles of innovation in the pharmaceuticals in research would be a clear ownership of a business problem and helping to drive that with data products. On the other hand, the clear new thing that we need to establish to make this work is data ops or ML ops, which is basically the fact that you don't have these kind of barriers between the different process steps, where you have lots of handovers from one person to the other during the process chain, but you rather have an integrated product team aligned behind that strong mission that you have to fulfill, which includes maybe somebody who actually looks at the quality of the software, somebody who does the DevOps or the infrastructure on the cloud or on your platform, does the data pipelines, somebody who actually does the UX UI design, and somebody who is able to do the basically continuous integration, continuous development, continuous integration process. So really having the skill sets end to end to really do true data ops, and to be able to, once you publish the MVP, to be able to iterate very fast and improve actually the scope and also the quality of the product. And that all needs to be integrated with the rest of the organization. And this is clearly for a bit more established companies quite a bit of a challenge, because those processes need to work together with the other processes in your organization.
Yeah, you highlighted the importance of the product manager. This is really the key person with this end-to-end responsibility. So that's the person that gets all the fame if it's working, but that's also the one single neck that gets choked when things are not working. And we often get the question, so how do we find this person? Where is it coming from? And we see that we need some understanding of business processes. So where is a product valuable, but how can I also integrate it later in a process? But we also need some technical understanding. But I think most important, it's really a manager. It's someone that leads this team, that leads the team of the technical skills we need to develop a product, but also the business skills we need to actually make it work in a business environment in the process. And that's why we see that these product managers can be found in the business departments, maybe some skilled business analysts, but they can also come out of the IT departments, often in the roles where people are already playing the interface role between business and IT. So this is maybe a little bit more background on the product manager.
And besides these kind of new ways of working, you need, of course, the data platform that can support it. And Carsten will explain us how.
Absolutely. So we are talking of a data analytics platform, and now we are shifting to the technical aspect. So we talked about the organizational aspect of a data product. Technically, we think it's important to have a holistic data and analytics platform. And holistic here means that it supports different ways of working and different workloads in the end, if you think technically. Because we have basically 3 different modes we need to support when we think about data products. One is that we need to inform people, more or less a little bit classical, with reports, with data analysis capabilities. But we also need to support the new ways of working. So employing or deploying data science on, for example, big data, on new data sources. And the capabilities and also the requirements here are very different, actually. So we also need to support this explorative approach to data. And thirdly, it's in the end, especially if you go live with the product, it's about the process side of things. So we need to be able to establish, we call it smart processes. So processes that are enabled or improved by data products. And to support all this, there are now platforms emerging that can do that. Many of them are cloud-based, and we think it's a pretty good idea to think about a cloud-based platform. It's not mandatory, but it's often a good place to start, especially if you're establishing something new. And we think it's a good idea of thinking about one, because we see the interfaces between different platforms can create real headaches. So especially if you have now a new product to develop, we think it's a good idea to really make sure that you develop one product on one of these technical platforms. You will use different technical platforms in the organization. This is often very naturally because someone started, let's say some names, some started with Azure. Your colleagues in other parts of the world are Google Cloud, some are using Amazon, and so on. And so there's typically this mix. But if you think of one data product, we think it's a good idea to use one of these platforms.
Right, and maybe another, and if you go to the next slide, I think there's one other aspect, very important aspect, which is the difference between managing data science as a product and managing data product. And that is, I've seen a lot of times that data scientists said, I delivered my algorithm, it works, it creates very good results. Now please use it. I'm done. I've done a great job. And this is not where data product work ends. It actually doesn't stop before it's actually implemented in the business process of the organization. That could mean that the business process actually actively uses every day the product to improve certain steps, automate certain steps, improve decisions. But it could even mean that some steps are actually taken over by the machine and done automatically. And that requires quite a lot of change management by the data product managers engaging with the business departments. To give you one example, we automated with machine learning how used cars are priced, basically in a quite big case, so 100,000 of used cars every year. And that required a massive business process re-engineering actually in the related business departments, changing what people actually do every day, how the processes work, what their actually mission is in that business department, by maybe taking a bit more role in terms of focusing on the more tricky bits, focusing more on actually selling the cars, and focusing on making sure that we see certain trends and certain irregularities coming out of the algorithm. So really the role of the business changes here, and the role of the data product manager is to assist in that change. Only then you can get the business results.
Yeah. And then at the end, it's also important to measure the results, inspect your products, maybe some models, or actually basically using a canvas. Yeah, is it still feasible? Is it still viable? Is it still compliant, and so on? And then adapt it. Yeah? So real life changes, our business change, and then obviously our data products need also to adapt. And the key idea here is to come to a continuous improvement cycle. So when you go live, the rework starts. Alex, you already highlighted this, and this is one of the major differences to a project. Yeah? When the project ends, it ends. And here we can say once the product is developed, the rework actually starts. Yeah? We need to bring it into to scale it, but then we continuously need to see whether it's working, what results is it producing, and then continuously adapt and change it.
And the key thing is here to start measuring business outcomes. That is the critical thing, because only then you can really iterate and improve.
Yeah, absolutely. In the end, it's really about P&L impact. Yeah? So data products also need to be measured against that, or many of these data products need to be measured against that. And this is what you have to make sure. Yeah, that leads us to the summary. So we took you on a very short journey about data products. So I hope we were able to show you what it is about, what the differences are, how you can approach this topic in terms of managing your portfolio and evaluating the products, meaning making sure that you develop the right products that actually generate the benefit you want and need for your organization. Then we covered three different aspects: the organizational aspect, the business aspect, and the technical aspects. And then we hopefully could drive down the point that it's really about continuous integration. It's really about a change and keeping a data product up to date in terms of the changing business environment. And for us, these are the main points when you start to think in data products. And we hope we could give you a good overview on this very important and very exciting topic.
Thank you very much for listening. And we hope to see you in presence next year at the Data Festival.
Absolutely. And if you have any questions in the meantime on data products or any strategic related topics in data and analytics, please don't hesitate to contact us. Bye-bye.
Thanks.